Hey, welcome to Atomics on a Friday.
We back.
We're
Post
back.
RSA.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
did you do the bingo
no,
card? I forgot to ask you. Were you?
I totally forgot. And by the time I remembered, you had already won and had everything checked off in 3 minutes. I was like, all right, well, we'll come back later.
Yeah, it was good. I gave myself a pat on the back.
Justifiably so.
I don't know if I have it anymore, but I probably chucked it at this point.
I think that went live.
That was awesome.
And I saw 5 pictures that had gotten 5 hits on the board, with minutes after posting that. I was like, oh, it's gonna be should just AI generate the next 10 boards for next year. That way there's a little more variance.
I think there was one of them had 2 cubes on my board. It was pretty funny. It was disruption or something, but yeah, it was good. But we made it. We're post RSA
until next year.
Yep. I forgot that this episode is the no USB worm episode, which is in relation to an RSA conversation. But that's okay. We'll chug along. I'm going to kill our banner, and then we're going to bring our illustrious guest on, which I'm really excited about. So I think today, for the most part, we're just diving into a lot of demoing. So there's really not much a sliding happening today. So all right, I'm going to add in Jose here. Hey, Jose. Thanks for joining us again, buddy.
Hey, of course. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Made it.
Yes. We have made it. I have to toss this banner on because it cracks me up. I don't know where it came from, but it's so good.
Deers in the headlight.
When did that get
added? Did you add it?
I did.
I don't even know.
No, I think you added it.
Maybe.
Do we have a breach on our hands?
Yeah.
Have we been breaching the APTs and just adding banners now?
Yes. It's the low and slow.
Lapsus is back.
Yep. Double laps. All right. Let's see. So this week we decided that we would pick PRs from Atomic Red Team, and we would dig through whatever ones you want to grab. I'm pretty sure none of us chose the same one. I don't think I really shared. Paul, you guessed mine. And then I haven't guessed Jose's. So I have no idea what Jose picked. I think I kind of know what Paul picked. So All right, who wants to go first? We should get like a randomizer that picks, but we don't have that. We don't have a show producer to pick either. So we gotta,
I'm so unprepared. I
someone's
haven't
gotta
chosen. Mike, the secret is I haven't chosen one. That's unprepared. I'm like literally on the PR list right now.
That is fair.
Hold on.
That is fair.
I got a spinner going.
Do you want to run first this time, Paul?
Paper, rock, scissors?
Sure. But first.
Okay. Oh, Paul's already added. Oh, look at that. That is awesome. A pie chart of all things.
Who's going to be?
So what, does each of us get like 15 minutes or something, or 20 minutes? That's going to be Jose.
Jose's first.
Awesome. I love it. Oh, all right. Let's see. Super not ready. Right. But let's play a game.
Yeah. Yes, let's play a game. Bring up some PRs and we'll talk about it.
Let me share my terminal here.
Terminal, even better. You should VI into the.
Can I share both screens? Here you go.
Maybe.
I don't actually know.
Boom.
Here, I'll add it in. Yeah, looks like it worked. It's a little.
You see the terminal on the right hand side, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Let's totally mess with this here. So I'm just gonna look at the PRs up close, and we can just link through them, if that's fair. I'll let you guys pick. Like, if you want to. There's been so many amazing Linux atomics coming in. Like, I'll be honest, like, and that's what I was like. I haven't really picked one, but let's just link them. I have a machine here. Let's just run them, see what works, what doesn't, why it doesn't work. Again, all of these are good to go. I've reviewed.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, again, like you can see, most of them are pretty. Like, I think after March 22nd, we just got a slew of them, and I'm super excited about them. So
I was gonna say, look at how many you've been like rocking, like all
your face all over them. It's been busy. Look, you want to start this pipe to shell? Again, I'm not ready for it, so let's just try it out. I think so. Biot actually has been biological robot here has been giving us a bunch of good stuff in the repo, and I think this one here. Let's see what it does. Pipe stuff into essentially a like curl in a URL, pipe to bash, and then see if you can detect that. Super common, right?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Okay, I see what we're talking
about.
Yeah,
pipe curl.
Shell. Yep.
Yeah. Grabs the shell script here. Let's open the shell script really quickly. Let's see what it has inside. So
hopefully it's who am I? No.
no. It's like, hey, being piped, right? Or not piped, basically. Here.
Have I been piped? Yep.
Yeah. So brings this down, runs it, bash it.
Wait, is it HIBP? Have I been piped?
Missed opportunity right there. So let me get. I'm like,
hang on, Jose. Hold your horses. Did you just start PowerShell on Linux?
Everybody takes me on this, man. Yes. I did. I don't know if this is like again, I did the wrong thing here, obviously. Like heretic. Yes, and it actually works extremely surprisingly well. Like, I am like super impressed with how well it's been working. But yes, I did. I'm running actually. So this is a Ubuntu box, if I'm not mistaken. And what am I doing? Yeah, it's Pop OS, right? So like straight up Ubuntu 2204, and yeah, running PowerShell, latest version. It works really well actually. And the reason I'm doing this is because I like running Invoke Atomic when I'm usually testing our atomics. It is, to me, my favorite. It's become my favorite go-to execution engine. again, there's other awesome ones out there, but this is mine. No, I'm kidding. Carrie does a great job maintaining it. So anyway, grabbing it down in PowerShell, and now Invoke should be in there, and again, gents, let me know how do you want to run this, but for the most part, I need to do install. Never mind, what am I doing? I don't even know what I'm doing. Here we go. Let's install it. Carrie has told me about 150 times you don't have to do this force, that you can read it from your local version, and it's probably better, but I'm like, I'm stubborn. She'll eventually get through me.
I do the same. Yeah, she's
coming. Even stop using TAC Force.
What? I missed what you said. I totally missed what you said.
I said I'm just waiting for the Slack message from Carrie to use stop using Force on the install.
Exactly.
I'm waiting for the PR to come in that just removes it, so that you can't use it anymore.
So the next thing I like typically to do here is I usually like to see the show details, make sure things are rendering okay, and also it allows me to pick out the tests. And again, this is how I go through these on my own. This one clearly has a few other tests in there. Like if I pop up here, open view file. It's a few more than just this one contributed. So we should kind of see them in here. And I think going back to the test we're looking at first, detecting pipe to shell. It's the last one. Test 12.
Last one. Yeah.
Yeah. Test 12. And again, I think this one has no prerequisites, right? Straight up execution of the command. Yeah, there's no prereqs. There's a cleanup. There's dependencies. I guess we can run prereqs for dependencies, right? Or let us know if we met it. And by the way, that's typically my next flow. Okay, actually, let me pass it the test. I think it's test number.
Yep, it's test number 12.
I should have had these commands ready for you guys. Made me look a lot more professional. Yeah, there you go. So again, this is checking for, hey, am I in a Debian system? And it's curl. Yeah. It's funny, I was like, checks Debian, Ubuntu Kali, then it's like Debian, not Debian. I'm not gonna judge. They're all Debians. And so we're ready to roll, right? This is good to go. Let's ship it.
Yep. Throw it down range.
Boom. Blew up. Not being piped.
Okay. I was gonna say, it looks like it's have I not been piped? No pipes.
And I'm assuming I don't know why this is not being piped. Have we failed with our first atomic? I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna have a wild guess here. I wonder if it's not writing to temp from this user.
Yeah. Do you need elevated access?
I think it doesn't.
Do you need to sudo that?
No. Well, at least it says false, but we can try it.
False?
We can sudo PowerShell.
The whole thing crazy over here.
Huh?
They're getting real crazy over here. Running PowerShell is sudo.
Nothing ever bad came from that, right? On Linux. That's the big caveat, right? Oh man, here, let's try to ship it again. I don't think it's elevated access. Could be something else in there. But let's give it a whirl. Nope, still cannot. Oh wait, it was that.
Oh,
it was that. I think that's just cleanup at the end.
Oh, you have a TAC cleanup at the end of your whole line there too. Might need to.
There you go.
That's okay.
Never mind.
Denied.
Yep.
Okay.
Nope.
So,
still not being piped.
Okay.
All right.
Couldn't so a simple Could a simple test here just be running curl and just like manually just run this? Like
that's exactly typically my next.
Maybe just run the show details and then just copy paste the one-liner.
Yeah.
Or type it out. Go live. HTTP example.
Boom.
There it is.
Let's copy this guy.
Yep. Okay. So it just can't access that. It won't.
Yeah, I can access the file.
So, but technically the trace, like the actual telemetry would still be there that you attempted to to shell something. So
right. I think this is the one that pipes it in though.
Yep. That looked like it worked, right?
Yeah. It could be that my trusty execution engine failed. To actually understand the pipe.
You didn't force it enough.
Exactly. Double F. Oh man. I love it.
Forced pipe.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
All right, let's try another one here. Let's try another one.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's keep going. Append to bash logout.
Sweet.
Boom.
What's bash logout? For all the viewers on the Linux side that don't know Linux, what's a bash logout?
I'm still learning it. It's been too long, and I'm still learning.
No. Yeah, that's totally fair.
Yeah, I think it's if I'm not mistaken, I think it's something that lands in your home directory and tells bash what to do when your user logs out, right? Like, hey, here's some extra stuff you can run. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's a cool way to persist, right?
Yeah, runs command on user logout. I think that's exactly the goal there, right?
Yeah.
Run some. Yeah. So this thing creates a user, logs into it, and then throw some stuff in some variable, which then goes into bash logout.
Nice.
And I think that would be exactly the goal. Either clean up. I mean, if I was an actor, it'd be cleaning up my mess, or persisting. Right?
Yep. Yeah. That's super cool.
Here, This one does require elevated privilege, so we still have PowerShell again. What did I do wrong here?
Oh
wait, never mind. I need to download it first. I think every time you log out of the session, it wipes whatever PowerShell history you had in there.
Got it.
So we'll do this a few times if that's okay.
The demo gods will not be mad.
No. I think we're beyond demo gods now. We're in the demo multiverse.
Yeah.
It's live now, right? What is it? MCU 5th stage or something? Where are we right now?
Yeah, we're in the 4th phase. We're going in.
What's even going on in the movies? So here, let's do show test again.
You're in the quantum verse. Is that what it was called or something? I don't remember the latest.
I don't. Yeah. I've missed. I've lost the way of the movies at this point. What is it? Show details? I forgot what I just typed. Check prereq.
Yeah, show details will give you the details.
Yeah, it's not popping up for me for some reason. Completing.
There you go.
Oh wait, you know what?
Yeah.
Of course.
Module.
It's not. You haven't installed it.
Not in there. There you go. All right, that was painful.
Yay!
Create an append.
Welcome to a day in the life of an Atomic Red Team maintainer.
Nice.
Oh wait, hang on. Wait, we have a banner. This is what we call #Red Team Struggles.
Purple team struggles.
There's maintainer struggles because this is
exactly maintainer struggles. I love it. All right, so let's ship this one. There's no prereqs on this either.
Nah.
It's totally gonna create a user. The CSV is something to do with my the permissions for sudo.
That's just
execution
log stuff. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, but
it worked.
I think it did, and I think I just did all of them.
Yes.
But I think it did. I think it did. We should see.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
We should see a new user, and then their file
it's gonna be
logout. Art.
Boom.
Look at that. Art was here.
Yeah. So this is good to go. Again, now let me actually clean this up.
I love how you say, I love how you're like, this is good to go, and it's already been merged.
What's going on, man?
This one works fine. I'll merge it now.
We're about to have a new audit process for HPRs that Jose merged.
I love it.
Oh man, we're having too much fun for a Friday. This is awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Here, what's next?
This is the Friday.
This is the Friday version of maintaining.
You've already done 2. If you want to do a 3rd for good measure, it's up to you. 2's it if you want to stop.
I was picking off the list that we went through, but we can circle around again.
All right.
Should we break out the wheel?
Yeah, Paul, do you want to bring us back to the wheel? And
Wheel of
then
Fortune? Yeah.
Yep. We'll see who gets the next pick. Well, there's only 2 left, but it's gonna be a 50-50.
Okay. Feel well, ready?
Let's do it. Man,
It's awesome.
it feels so authentic. Yes. Here we go. Where's the sounds? Yes. Okay. All right.
CGI. Is this CGI? I love it.
Oh my gosh.
Top tier.
That is, yeah. All right. I named my machine The Box, and so it comes up as The Box. Okay. You're like, wow, Mike, you were like completely prepared. Yeah, I was a little aware this morning. Yeah, I picked 2. I picked 2 PRs that I shipped in. I can add like a video here or something. I'll add all our video for fun. Yeah, so I picked one of them I shipped in recently was a disabling of HVCI. And you're like, Mike, what is a HVCI? That is called the Hypervisor Protected Code Integrity. And typically it's related to like malicious drivers and little things called bootkits and stuff like that. It just helps prevent evil things from happening and whatnot on a Windows machine. And so this campaign called Black Lotus campaign occurred where the adversary had, I'll drop the link, basically, wrecked a whole machine. My favorite part, so it's a bootkit. And what they did is they used a CVE from last year to elevate and then to go and like disable all the protections on the host and then persist. This is from ESET. This is just a Microsoft blog, but the ESET blog goes into the actual, I was like, did he already post it? The ESET blog goes into like a nice little graphical, like how the adversary did their thing. But so anyway, the thing that I thought was interesting was disabling of HVCI. And I was like, oh, like it's that simple. Like I can just literally just flip the switch and turn off HVCI. And, or if you're elevated enough, you could just like disable everything. So I was like, well, that's awesome. Good job. As I was Googling around, this is another link I'll share. And this particular link goes into just like how to enable HVCI and all the code integrity stuff. The thing I didn't know was that there was like a bunch of pieces that you can enable through the registry. And this is all the device guard, all these things. And I was just like, wow, HVCI, virtualization-based security. And it's all just like through the registry. And I was kind of surprised I didn't know that it was like this, but at the same time, I've never really dug into it enough to really know that HVCI and these settings and whatnot are all managed through the registry. So yeah, I basically just whipped around, shipped an atomic, doing all of this. And as I was working it, it was a little like kind of eye-opening just how quick and easy it was to kind of ship something like this. But let me bring up the terminal. Oh, the other funny thing is I found that this was like test number 44 inside of this one, and I was just like, wow, like, can we have any more tests on 1562.001? I'll just do the show details brief on this whole thing here. And I was just like, yeah, there's a beast mode amount in here. And I didn't do what Jose did and run all of them, because it's a lot of tests to sit and watch. It's like watching paint dry, watching the registry paint and dry. But yeah, so here they are. I just literally threw them in there. There's the cleanups, and then I did a dependency check where it'll go and see. I was torn. I was really worried about, not really worried, but I was really thinking also about how, if I'm running this, I just envision people like running this on like their corporate system that has HVCI enabled or AV and stuff. And I was thinking about, I was like, well, I want to be careful. Like if someone runs this to like disable and it like blows up their endpoint, you know, like it just, I don't know. I just was thinking about that. And so I wanted to make the prereq go and check like if it was there. And so that's what that does. And then it'll enable all of them, which again, I was kind of questionable about enabling them, but ship it. And so then this is the actual command that it runs. So anyway, didn't mean to drag that out, but I just thought the reasoning of all the things was kind of interesting. And it's like, done, HVCI is disabled, and now you can go and run all the evils. And then if you want to run your cleanups, which we see right here, it just goes and deletes them. Oh, now I can't find them. Good job, buddy. Oh, I didn't do the prereq. Yeah. There you go. Then do your cleanup. Oh, yeah. There we go. Demo gods are in the favors.
Mike.
So that was that one.
Way more prepared, man. I should have come up with a good reason for the bash logout. Short of like, YOLO, don't write into this file ever.
Cal was like really prepared today, with like all the tabs open and everything just ready to go.
I know, it's
I'm
so
like,
bad.
all right, we're gonna do it live. Copy paste.
I know.
No checks.
I had a couple minutes. And then like on the detection front, so I wrote a detection for this, obviously. And so it's just looking for HVCI and it being disabled. And that's all. Nothing fancy. Yeah, there's a new one. So, and then for my next atomic, I was kind of geeking out a while back on certificate services. And I was really digging into just, extracting certificates and different ways to extract them. And I don't know, just anything cert. And so I added a bunch of atomics for like exporting certificates. And it should be a couple, I thought, but maybe the screenshot doesn't really show it. But I added a couple. I'm pretty sure I did. Thought I did. Nope, apparently I only added one, but maybe there was more in a different PR. So what I kind of ended up doing was I'm just going to skip up here. Not that one. That one. Wow, could I have disabled HVCI anymore? Okay, it's not in there. Did I skip it? 1552.004. Oh yeah, it's right here. Okay. For this one, there's not that many tests, but there is like a weird, is it Azure AD internals or Active Directory internals module? That always comes up, and like, it's always bugging me when I run prereqs on all of them, so I'll just skip it. But the other ones down here, one of them requires Mimikatz. The other ones are like, just PowerShell commandlets or whatnot. And so I'm going to run Let's do show details brief. I'm going to skip 1, 6, and 7 because that pretty much has like nothing to do with what I want to do, what my PR was. And you can just comma separate all the ones you want to do. And let's see if this works. Yeah. So running show details, you get an idea. Like this one, like for instance, this last one, we'll grab Mimikatz. It will run, where is the command? Right here. It does the crypto certificates, crypto module, grabs the certificates from the local store, and then it exports them. And this will dump like a bunch of PFX and files to the disk. It's fairly noisy. And I believe when I was testing this, if you run Mimikatz from Cobalt Strike and or Metasploit, I believe, it still writes these to disk just like that. And then the other ones are kind of the same. It just tells it to export the PFX or the certificate from the local machines store in the main user store. So basically the same thing, just different ways to do it. And they generate a little bit different behaviors as far as if you're running it on like a certificate services server. So if the adversary had access to the cert server, it will have different behaviors related to like the CAPI logs, which is the crypto API logs within the ATT&CK. And so it can look kind of interesting, which brings me to my next thing, which I'm glad I reminded myself. If you have ATT&CK and it's running and whatnot, there are some sweet event logs in here. This is my side tangent. There are some really interesting event logs related to when somebody requests a certificate and when a certificate is issued. And I had detailed this in that blog that I wrote. It's right here. It's this one. Breaking the chain, defending against certificate services abuse. I'll drop that into the comments there. And it goes into all the screenshots and it shares like what things look like from like adversary's perspective, running the different crypto modules down to the actual analytics running or requesting or exporting certificates, and obviously all the different event logs and stuff as well. Because if you remember this, Paul, you gave me this one, which is absolutely amazing. This PowerShell one-liner.
I don't remember that, but I'm glad it helped.
Oh, yes, it's awesome. Yeah, it just gets the one event log and you tell it which event log, and then it dumps out all the event IDs and a short description.
Oh, yeah. And then Nas actually has that amazing repo where they programmatically and systematically run this on various versions of Windows. So they'll dump out all of the different ETW providers and the different logs exactly like this. So they're already pretty much done. Let me track down that repository because that is top tier.
Is it the EVTX one? I think that was it, right? Yeah. So yeah, I think so. I think it's in there.
Here, look. I think I had it ready.
Oh, I got it.
Going live in a minute.
Yep, the EVTX repo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yep. So yeah, that one. So yeah, we dug into all this certificate stuff, and that kind of led to, just kind of digging into these things. And so then the simple, just kind of wanted to showcase what the data looked like. Obviously running straight Mimikatz are going to get the modules like that, which is kind of on purpose. And the file mods I'll show next, but like the Certutil, which was this particular export PFX, was probably one of the more like the leading ones that was used, I believe, during the SolarWinds breach. They had exported the certificates using export PFX. The thing I don't show or I didn't have lined up, unfortunately, was the PowerShell export certificate and stuff like that. But I was just using the PowerShell 4104 logs and just look for literally just export PFX cert certificate and export certificate, and that it just lights up pretty well. And then if you see down here in the bottom, this Aurora agent has been going nuts on normal things, but when I did run these tests, it enjoys going crazy on these as well. There's all kinds of signal rules out there just for these particular behaviors. So here's the file mods. It will dump, depending on which crypto piece of the crypto module for Mimikatz you run. It's in the blog. It's outlined which stage it'll dump a certain type of like file name. And if you go and dig into the Mimikatz source code, it's there plain as day as well by which module and which piece will like dump each particular thing. And it's funny, I was thinking about this. I saw a tweet from Casey yesterday, day before, about tracking, I think he said PFX files in your environment. Oh, it was related to AWS like keys and whatnot. And I was like, yeah, that's definitely a thing. But yeah, this was, I thought was kind of neat. You can see like these are just random things, but then now you have like the atomic PFX and stuff, which I actually have a pending certificate waiting to be downloaded. And so if I import this, it's obviously going to follow up as a file mod. But all these ones down here, excuse me, these local machine ones are all from Mimikatz. It's just like noisy, and it dumps out like 5 or 6 at a time. There's like 3 pages of certificates. And then last but not least, I had one event in here. This comes from the certificate services lifecycle operational log. And when I was digging into ADCS, this log was really interesting. And it basically just means like a certificate's been exported, this event code 1007. And if you remember the blog, the little one-liner that Paul gave me, I call it out right here. 1007 is when a cert's been exported, a new cert has been installed, things like that. So this log tends to have like some really interesting data in it. The CAPI logs, the crypto API logs in Windows as well. I think it was Microsoft says that it's meant for being like a verbose like way to track like crypto issues on an endpoint connecting to AD and or connecting to ADCS or anything like that. When I enabled it, it's very verbose. Like it just goes nuts telling you about digital signatures and just all kinds of data. But what I did on the blog is I ended up just creating and I'm sure like most SIMs and whatnot have this, but in my inputs, I just do a regex right here just for the event ID 70. And that just gives you when a certificate is exported from that particular log. Otherwise, it's just like chaos it's probably good chaotic data, but it's straight chaos of just the enormous amount of data that you get from it. So, but yeah, this is it. Certs being exported. Thought that was really neat, kind of novel. And everything in the blog, like I mentioned, Mimikatz, all those PowerShell commandlets exporting, or even Certutil exporting, stuff like that, produce all these events. And then you're able to go and kind of look for these different artifacts. And I learned a lot on that blog. So it's kind of fun to kind of dig into that stuff. But yeah, that's my 10 minutes.
Top tier.
Have you had to kill Aurora?
The HVCI stuff is super interesting. I think we'll
Yeah.
see more of that along with the drivers, which are.
Yeah, I hear there's like this cool site called LOL drivers or something, and
Never heard of it.
They're tracking a lot of that stuff. I guess it's kind of interesting, right? I mean,
Check it
Have you had to kill Aurora to get certain things to work?
no, I haven't.
It's not block.
It
It's
just
not blocked,
triggers.
right?
Nah, nope. It just hangs out, monitors, generates a bunch of telemetry, and it all goes into the application event log, I noticed. And so you can go and Splunk that. And I think you worked on that TA, Jose. So it has.
I have no idea how it works in them. No. I remember
Tell me
like
more.
bunch of telemetry in there. I'm like, oh man, this is awesome.
Yep.
But I don't
Oh
think
yeah,
like,
that's great.
I don't think it's blocking by default. Yeah, and a bunch of Sigma. I mean, you're gonna all
They
Sigma
can
rules.
block. Yeah, they can block though, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome. I remember. Yeah, I remember working on the photo and stuff. That was fun.
Yeah.
Who's gonna be
Go
next?
Paul!
All right.
Who's
Not
gonna
spending
be?
those CGI dollars, man. I'm telling you.
I win.
All right.
Yeah,
You are a winner.
I can close that now.
How many
I remember what these
day
tests
morning
were.
shows have spinning wheels? Was it Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? No, wait. Price is Right? No.
Price is Right. That was
Do
a
they
good
have
one.
spinning
though.
wheels?
Wheel of Fortune. They
Wheel
do.
of
Price is
Fortune.
Right has the Wheel of Fortune. But yeah.
All right. Every time. Hold on.
Oh, that's an interesting atomic.
Yeah, I wonder who did this.
You're on test number 50.
This never happens, right? Nobody ever disables Defender.
Oh.
Or use RemCom.
Oh man.
Okay, so all right, this is the RemCom one. Got it. So RemCom is like the open source PS exec, so has similar functionality to it, just a little bit different implementation. Depending on where, like how your analytics are structured, this should be pretty much picked up if you're looking at like Windows event logs, 7045 for service creates, registry keys of where they actually get stored. So it shouldn't be too different, but variance in tests to determine that is always important, especially if you're thinking, right, if you built the test only looking for things like psexec.exe of the binary, and you run this, like now you have a gap. So having the variance, even if the technique is, or the result of it is still similar and ends the same way, it's always good just to kind of validate those. And I am sorry, I wish I knew how to, oh, here's the pin. Oh, there we go. Okay. It was freaking out and just extremely distracting. So functions almost identically to psexec. We can give it some input parameters, which we will provide, and then go. And of course, we can prompt for our input arguments for this test. And the first one is path. We'll leave it there. Hopefully it exists. I don't remember if I ran the prereqs.
Did you ship this one, Paul? Or was this one that I shipped, or was someone else shipped this one?
I don't remember who shipped this, but it is a solid test.
Oh, cool.
Hold on.
It sounds familiar because I was working on RemCom recently.
Get prereqs.
Like,
satisfy. Again, great thing about atomics, if there's a prerequisite needed, it will attempt to go resolve that for you, so you don't have to do it, and then we can just retry this other one again. So we'll leave that.
oh, yeah.
Localhost, and of course we could specify a remote endpoint, so if we wanted to see it over the wire, we could do that as well. And there we go. Actually didn't know what to expect from this, but there it is. And that's create service, and we'll go do the thing. Should have, I believe, launched calculator. No. Should pay attention.
The local one should have, I think. That's why it's familiar. I think I tested this. I have a screenshot in the PR.
Yeah, it executes command.
Oh, command.
Because of the user, it will actually execute it somewhere else, not here visually. So, but
Yep.
notice the test worked. On to the next one. Wait, we're gonna change it up. We're gonna go to this box. This was a fun one. So it comes from a ReliaQuest blog on Sock Ghoulish. I forgot who created this one. I did fix it up a little bit. So one of the things in this case is when using WMI to execute this, because what you want it to do is actually do it on the domain controller. So instead of having to know what the domain controller is, we can use a little PowerShell magic to go get that. So in this case, we just assign a variable, use the environment variable log on server to go get it. If we just run this, you actually get some like a lot of data returned back. But then all we want is the actual IP address. So then we use some more PowerShell magic to strip that out, and then assign the IP address, convert it to something that we can then pass in. So that way, when we run it, again, we don't have to know any of it. Or if you're in an environment where there's 20 domain controllers, you don't want to have the wrong one. It will just do the magic for you. So if you run the test, it will go and do the thing. And it broke. Why not? IPv6.
Oh,
Local network.
I mean, now you got two problems.
Somebody should have tested this before merging. That's all I'm saying.
Hashtag maintainer struggles.
Yes, where'd it go? Where's that banner?
Maintainer struggles.
Well, this worked on my box. I'm trying to think why this didn't work.
It looks
That's
like
not
it's been
even-
merged. No.
Okay, so that's my current box. This isn't even working. If you go look at
Maybe
the
you were
PR,
working
like,
on
the proof
this.
exists, like it worked. Yeah, it was definitely on a different box. So AD is broken on this, but it simply will call out, and then it will use the Wevtutil binary to export out specific event ID from your event logs to grab the logged on users so you can identify who's potentially active within the environment. So that was just kind of cool. So you can grab it via NTLM. And then the cleanup command will actually go and delete it. So it writes it into the root of C, as you can see here. And then it will attempt to go delete that. So you don't want that just sitting out. And of course, in a lab environment, if you don't clean it up, it's not the end of the world. I guess
Wait, you use a lab environment?
No. I just call prod lab, so that way it sounds like I have a lab environment.
Yes.
It's deception. It's sleight of hand.
Same difference.
Yes.
Yeah, it's in the lab.
Yes.
It's a lab for somebody, right?
Yeah, somebody's lab.
That's true. Paul never said this was his.
Exactly. So this PR actually from Tio Derek over at the Splunk Threat Research team had like 7 or 8 tests on it, which come from a sample breaking down, which is a RedLine. So it's actually really cool the different techniques that they use. Even if some of them are kind of like patched by Microsoft since then, it's still interesting because think about it, an adversary is not going to know if it's patched, so they may just slap it in there and hope that this helps continue their execution. So this one is just one where it's simply disabling notifications of Windows Center, right? It's in the corner, kind of like Mike's Aurora agent, where it's simply just popping up alert after alert. It will then try and disable it, depending on, again. So this one should work. See, and then we can, of course, clean it up with our cleanup command. And it will go re-enable the notifications, allegedly. This is taking a little bit to change a registry key.
It's gone forever.
Suspicious.
Yep.
It's in the
It's
ether
out.
now, man.
Here we go.
What we get for sending it downrange.
Waiting. Yeah. Not a real lab.
It was like my pipe to show time, really.
Yes.
It worked in my box. What do you mean? It worked and I ran it on my terminal.
Works on my machine. Send it.
Exactly. I love it.
Merged.
How about, wow, dumb question on your previous atomic. Would it be possible to filter down? So like, that doesn't filter down the admin users, right? Like when you do discovery with Wevtutil, it just brings down the logs locally. You need to like kind of hash out from the log events who the admin user is.
Oh, so you
Sorry.
mean the export?
Yeah.
So this is going to be executed on the domain controller. So
Right,
you
right.
remotely request it, and then the log file gets written locally to the domain controller in the root of C. You could specify this wherever you want. This procedurally comes directly from what they saw, what ReliaQuest saw in the environment. So this command is procedurally one-to-one what they saw. So you're like, hey, again, testing a tactic for test a tactic, but you test techniques, and then there's procedural implementations that you can go do to get to achieve the technique. In this case, this is exactly what they executed. They copy and paste it into an atomic and go. Are there variations of ways that you could achieve the same objective? Sure, but it's just a good test, again, looking at breadth and depth. But for whatever reason.
Thank you for that, man. I lost it for a second. I thought that I got it. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and so we could see that I am connected to on the domain itself, but for whatever reason, it is showing up as nothing for environment for logon server.
All right, Bachman. I love it.
Nothing. Phenomenal. But in this case, we can see it's just locally. So in this case, because this is a local terminal session for a local user, that's probably why it's actually broken. If I logged out from the local account and logged in as a domain account, it probably would work better. But how do I get out of this? But what's interesting is, seriously can't stop. How do I get out of this? We're just going to remove that. Okay. But we had the threat detection live series in Chicago that Red Canary put on. One of the things that came out of it, which was kind of interesting in listening to one of my colleagues present, was the ways in which, even if you have like a detection, even if it's specific to a threat family, like in this case, the RedLine detectors, like chances are it's not the only threat group doing that specific procedural or even technique of that, even with some variants of command line casing, etc. Like you could probably have 3, 4, 5, 10 groups. So even if it is specific, like this is what one group saw, chances are that's not the only group or thing doing it. So you actually have some good coverage and wins because it's variation. Versus like being super specific of like, oh, it's only for this thing, so it's only going to detect that thing. No, not necessarily. Think of like how many different threat groups deliver payloads, initial payloads via JavaScript files. The user double clicks a JavaScript file. I think like everybody is now doing that. Put it inside of an ISO or an encrypted zip archive, and there it is, right? So you change default file extensions to open instead of letting WScript execute a JS file, and you say open Notepad instead. Like, congrats, there's 10 threat groups that now you just made it out. So simple compounding wins are big in the long run. Fun. Yep. But now think of like HVCI, like how many other threat groups are now going to go implement disabling or bypassing HVCI controls? We saw it with one group, may not see it in a bunch right now, but give it 3 to 6 months and I bet we will.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing I like about that atomic test is that having all the regs in there to modify or enable, like I think it's neat because like if you don't have coverage for those things, or if you don't have them enabled in your org, or you do have them enabled and you don't know what it looks like when they get disabled through the registry like that, like that's a great way to test yourself and know if you have coverage. And now you can go write coverage for HVCI and the VBS pieces being disabled and everything.
One of the favorite things I like to do when running tests, especially when you're not sure what the expected outcome is like, especially like on Windows, is Proc Explorer. Like load up that, cancel the filtering, start filtering, run the test. As soon as test is done, kill the filtering and start sifting through it. Like look at what occurred from the file activity, what occurred from a network activity, registry keys, right? And there's similar things you can do on Linux. And then there's new Mac Monitor, Red Canary release for kind of like a Procmon for Mac. So you can do the same idea. This is kind of tough sometimes. You're like, well, what should I expect this to do? Like, well, here's the test, but I don't know what happens. So it's always good to like just kind of dig in.
On that atomic on like pipe to shell, for example, like on the whole theme of like like again like variations, cache behavior. I was playing with it, and to me it was a super common thing to do, right? Like hey, copy and paste whatever from the internet, pipe to shell, it's gonna install it, but like not so much on containers. And I was testing like eBPF visibility in containers. And I was like, oh shoot, like you shouldn't be running like even when you're building containers, you should never be piping stuff to show an active running container. Right? It's like maybe narrow down detections to that specific kind of set of environments and tooling. Right? But
say you shouldn't.
Exactly.
How often is it actually happening?
It happens. It happens, right? Like yeah. Some people will attach and run stuff manually. And like again, shouldn't, but that's why. That's again. I started off with chip to detection on our side for that. Start looking at that and how common, and start tuning it down from okay, well, it happens when break glass or something like that. Yeah, and the bash log off stuff to me was also kind of super interesting because like one, I've been using Nix for quite a bit, and you use bash RC for like scripting stuff, or like bash profile, but never like bash logout was like a new one for me. And when I looked into it, like it had a purpose, which is like, hey, you can write any shell script to it and then kind of automate closing stuff when you're managing things through terminals, right? Or like wiping like a wall and things like that. But like such a rare occasion, and it's such a good place to hide. Like it's an am you see that, like, mind me none, right? Like whatever, that's fine, right? Like so to me, that's kind of like anything writing to that, either now you're doing some really odd admin process, or this is not normal.
Yeah, that one was definitely new to me, and I'm looking back now at the atomic itself, and it says like this bash shell runs to bash logout. If it exists, it runs the commands on user logout. An adversary may create or append to a logout to clear history, start processes, etc. Like, man,
right.
That's awesome.
That's a good one, and it ties back directly to like a MITRE technique, which is pretty neat. Like I, in the sense of like there's a sub technique specifically for logouts for Linux, which is pretty cool. Like when you get those like golden one-to-one like beautiful mappings, where like, oh, this is exactly the technique for this activity, not like trying to jam it in there. It was a good one.
Yes.
You know what I mean.
No, and it's great to see that you showed it earlier, which was the massive influx of Linux and cloud atomics over the past like probably 2 to 3 months is phenomenal. Just because I think it's like an uncharted territory a little bit. So seeing that kind of take off a little bit more and getting more input for that is top tier, because I'm not a Linux expert. So seeing these come in and like thinking about like the different ways in which or why an adversary does it, right? Like to your point, adding user logs out, go run some other commands, clean up, start process, like wouldn't have thought of that. Like, so that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I just remembered Jose. I was like, I'm pretty sure Jose and I wrote those analytics for curl and wget pipe to shell, and I just found it. It was back in 2021 when we were working on the log4j stuff, because it had used it in that campaign.
That's what it was doing. Yeah, that was the POC. I think it was back in the olden days.
I know. You're telling me you wrote an analytic for that, but had no subsequent atomic to test it.
I wrote my own rule. Like, let me, Paul, you're highlighting this in public. I broke my own rule.
Yep. We were rushing. Okay, leave us alone.
Casey tweeted something yesterday. If you didn't test it, it doesn't work.
It didn't happen.
Exactly. It's true.
Yep. This is true. This is the way.
Look, the test eventually came out. At least it's now there.
Yeah.
Can't complain. 2 years later, it's fine.
Still doesn't hurt to invoke, but that's my fault. Where's the maintainer troubles?
Oh, yeah. Got you.
I hope nobody else on the maintainers team watches these, because
we're in trouble. Eject.
We're about to have a massive audit.
Oh, man.
I love it.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Happy Friday.
Buddy. Happy Friday.
You're starting it or ending it?
No, you're boxing. Silicon Valley, Paul? That's Eric Bachman. That was a documentary, man.
Let me tell you. At first, it started out, you're like, oh, it's kind of funny, and then you start to realize, like,
Brett starts thinking, I lived this.
Like, now I'm basically just watching a fiction version of day-to-day life. And it's like, all right, I can't watch that anymore. It's too real.
All of a sudden, the show comes out like David Attenborough, right? Like the typical software engineer wakes up in the morning and watches this show.
I'm a huge fan of David Attenborough and would absolutely pay money to have a documentary of him like doing like a tech day in the life of like tech or cyber.
We should 11 Path. We can make it happen. You know, 11 like the voice changing Nest Atomic on Fridays, narrated by David Attenborough. Just put it out there. You know, up level CGI.
Oh my goodness. This is where AI went wrong. We're gonna start thinking we got David Attenborough to come work with us and do some voiceovers. I'm in there.
Do y'all want to see a quick demo of something that I'm working on?
Of course. Doing it live. I'd absolutely love to.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Question.
Let me share. I know this is after hours. Atomics on a Friday. Let me share it up here.
After Dark Atomics.
After dark. Okay. Share this. Okay. So I tweeted it a little bit, but it's super cool. I'm working on I think Paul, you might know, I've been working a little bit on I think you actually know too, obviously, Jose. I've been working on bootkit stuff lately. And so I've been kind of learning all kinds of new crazy stuff and just trying to understand how bootkits work and all that kind of and whatever, right? So that's where like the Black Lotus campaign kind of stuff creeps in and just freaking out on those things. So I created a quick script here called The Boots. And so first thing I thought was, you know, there's no ASCII art. This isn't real. So I had to add The Boots. And I love that it spells out the boots in each line. It's so amazing. I don't know if anybody's caught that yet.
That's top tier.
Yeah.
I noticed it said the boots, but I didn't see line by line. It still spells out the boots. That is way more important than whatever else.
Top tier ASCII right there.
Yeah. This would be like meta ASCII.
This needs like an Academy Award of the ASCII or something, you know, like.
Right.
The film was horrible, but great film. Like the filming was just amazing, right? Like meta.
Yes. So there's a couple things that I've been digging into, and the first one's the boot execute value within the registry. And let me bring up the code as well here. But so basically in a previous campaign that ESET had tracked for a while, this adversary embedded themselves so much into the operating system that part of the steps or stages is where they literally changed what would load up during boot. And so by default, and the reason why this test is here is by default, it uses the auto check, auto CHK, and auto CHK would be the auto check binary on disk. That's what it would run. Well, this particular adversary, I think it was ABT 28 or 29 or something, they changed it to number 1 here, which is auto CHE. And so like, first I just want to let's just display what I got, which right now it's set to auto check. And so then you can go and modify it. And now it's set to auto CHE. And your joke here should be, Mike, why don't you reboot and see what happens? No, not going to happen. And so then the next thing I started digging into, and this is what I added yesterday into the tool, was the adversary in this case, for Black Lotus campaign and the prior one, I think it's like Sednit or something like that. They basically dropped like what's called an EFI file into the EFI system partition. And so when you have TPM or TPM installed and the UEFI stuff going, it creates like this separate partition that houses like your protected bootloader and all that kind of stuff. And so within there is a bunch of EFI files, like there's like one EFI or something. And so I wanted to create a test where I could just hit 5 and it goes and copies a file to, it mounts it and then it copies a file to it, which is like super cool. And all of this is like to learn what this crap is, but also to help simulate it, because as a defender, I've never dug into this before. I've never seen this before live, and like you go listen to the talks or read the papers on bootloaders or bootkits and all this, and it's just like mind blowing. And how adversaries get to this level to install something like this and modify the way the system boots, and incredible. So that's what this is. Yep, thought that was cool. Thanks for listening.
It's absolutely wild. I didn't know like that was like how you could like mount it and like kind of stuff over and then just modify it. Like that's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
I'm surprised you can just write to that partition like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, somehow.
I know. I agree, and yeah, I'm still learning. It's still an interesting space because it's like there's a lot there, and there was some other stuff. There's so many like pieces into how obviously Windows boots with UEFI. But yeah, it's crazy. I'm learning a lot. And the other thing I'm learning, Jose, on the Linux side is that there is Linux UEFI and all that stuff too. And I was like, holy cow. Like I asked it, I was Googling around and there is like a example bootkit for Linux. And I was just like, this is crazy. Like you don't hear about this stuff. I can't imagine that
right now. I'm looking at my machine right now. There's a bunch of stuff that's logging like the machine mounting it in syslog, like for whatever it's worth. Now you got me curious. Now you gotta go chase a squirrel. Like this is awesome. Dude, I haven't even thought about it. Yeah. But yeah, like Linux full boot EFI partition stuff. Like holy moly!
Yeah. What would be?
Did you get logs for that in Windows?
What was that?
Do you get logs for that in Windows? Like anywhere?
No, not that I know of. Not that I found.
So what would be a legitimate case where, like, an admin would go change this? Like, I don't know where like the legitimacy of like, what am I missing? I get something like OT related, ICS. I don't understand like why a standard like administrator, like I got 50,000 endpoints in my org, I'm gonna go modify the boot order and like change how it does things. Like what's the?
I mean, how do you go without like? I mean, you're risking breaking a machine remotely, right? Like, you're messing at that level of things, right? Like this is not, you're not updating Slack, like literally updating a partition on the machine remotely. Like no.
Yep.
Yeah. Look, let me share my screen. Like just.
I was just gonna share this real quick. This is a Splunk inputs, a custom inputs that I created. It runs BCD edit and it lists out all of the bootloaders and then it ships it to Splunk. So you can actually like Splunk this across your fleet. And I have like 4 machines here and it just dumps all the bootloaders that are in there. And AWS is a little bit different. So that's why it's like windowed exe. It's kind of weird. But on my Windows 11 machine, that's where the EFI files come in. So yeah, it's crazy. But again, it's interesting. Like I was even digging into, before you share, Jose, sorry. I was even digging into, it's like when an adversary, because this is the thing that these blogs don't share. And this is the thing that I'm not getting from like these big reports is like, are they dropping these EFI files to disk and then they move them or is it like somehow programmatically being dropped in, like mount, drop, unmount, reboot? Because they have to reboot for it in order for it to kick in and do their next stage. So there's a lot of questions I have from like ESET and gosh, I think that's like the main one right now who's been really, and Microsoft, obviously, their blog on this too. But yeah, it's interesting. It's really weird, dark space. Your face, Jose, was like, I got too many bootloaders over here.
You got me here looking at my bootloaders now, man. Like, now I want to know what's going on under the hood now. Like yeah.
Yep.
I'm curious, but yeah, I wonder if, I mean, how else would that work, right? Like, it needs to kick in when you reboot, right? Like, you can't.
Yep.
Like, that partition gets mounted, and then everything else gets mounted on the OS. I can tell you, I definitely have a high partition.
I can see the gears like spinning. You're like, how? What? Like, you're in. I'm gonna get a text over the weekend about how you figured this out.
No.
You know what's really mind blowing from that aspect is the risk of like just taking down the box. Like, that sets off red flags, right? Like, all of a sudden the box reboots and then comes up and is like dead, like that place. Like, you lose whatever you had potentially. So the ability to do that undetected and also maintain that like it's going to work, right? Like, I'm wondering how many times did it potentially fail? Like, how long were they there? Because I'm sure there were specific things that, like, requirements that you needed to know in order to create it and then go do it. Like, to me, it's really interesting and fascinating, those questions that I don't know if they answered or talked about those in the blog. Of course not.
Not enough. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. It's dark.
How often does this get deployed? For example, again, going back like on Linux machines and even detected? Or like who's looking for that stuff, right? And I mean,
Mike.
Rook has been around for 100 years. Well, exactly, Mike.
It's probably Mike, but now he's sucked in for the Linux side.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, the Linux. There's only like one out there, and I think it's called Dream Boot, and that's it. Otherwise, there's like nothing else, and there's no reported adversary publicly about adversaries using it against Linux or anything. So that would be the space I'd love to hear more about. And I think it's a visibility thing, right? I'm pretty sure if they're doing bootloaders on Windows, they're doing bootloaders everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, there's system logs clearly that show what EFI bootloader's loading when the machine starts. I'm seeing them right now. And there's configs for this on the operating system, but like, how do you know which one's bad and which one's good? Right? Like hash matching? I don't know. Like, you can change the name, I'm assuming. Right? The name by UUID. I don't know. Where's it data? Now I gotta go hit a Linux fleet somewhere for data.
So on the Windows side, that's where you're supposed to trust that between UEFI and the OS, that Microsoft set the correct guards to prevent malicious ones loading. And that's why this adversary, in particular, Black Lotus campaign, disabled everything. So they were just like, just blast it, right? Like, they could do whatever they want at that point. But if those guards were in place, secure boot, UEFI, HVC, all this crap. I love the echo. It's great. But like, if all this crap was enabled, it would then go and prevent it, because it has to be signed. It can't just, be any kind of rando thing. It has to be, the certificate has to be installed in the system in a certain way. And that's the part I'm still got to learn about. But there's a lot of key things. But again, in this campaign, they disabled everything and they moved on, Linux, I don't know. You can just do it. Just install
Good weekend read. Good weekend read about Dream Loader.
Just a quick little 20-minute read this weekend. We'll be good to go.
Yeah. No big deal. Bootloader.
That's 6 hours later.
4 a.m. You got like your Pepe Sylvia mind map on the wall.
Yes. That's how I feel when I talk to you'll know this, Jose, and you too, Paul. When I talk to Mauricio, I feel that way. I'm like, it's like this, it's like that, and he's like, and I'm like, yeah, it goes like this. If they just install it, throw HVCI out the window, like you don't know what's gonna happen next. Like, where's the logs? I'm a defender. I can't detect this. Like, what do I do?
I can just picture like how that goes down, because I know like internally that's how I operate. Like I'll be like ripping this thing out for like 45 minutes and everybody's like, yeah, okay. And I'm just like, why are you not thinking about this? Like, this is insane. Like, go do it. Like, go look at it.
Yep. The first thing I'm thinking in my head, I was like, I wonder what Shane's thinking right now if he was watching this. Is he going after this yet? No, he's not.
I'm wondering, like,
Tony.
I hope Tony.
Look at Tony.
Tony Soprano?
Yeah. That Tony. Oh, there's our demo video that doesn't demo.
It did work at one point, didn't it?
I don't
Do you gotta like click it? Oh wait, you can't, because it's like importing the slide.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out eventually.
That's okay. But yeah. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Jose.
Yeah, thanks for coming to hang out and run random things.
It's always fun.
I know.
Especially doing it live.
Yeah,
happy Friday, everybody. Thank you for staying after hours. Whoever did that.
It seems chaotic, but in reality, like, this is like the great way to just spur conversation and like get the ball rolling. Like, it seems completely disorganized and unfunctional, but welcome to the world of threat research and detection engineering.
Have you met BGP? Let me show you BGP really. Chaotic. Oh man. Sorry, I don't know why that comes to mind.
Makes sense.
Awesome.
Right, Daniel. Thanks for joining. Catch the chaos next time.
Thank you. See you in 2 weeks.
Lego.
Thank you, Paul.